This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Work can be a little weird. Cringy training seminars, coworkers who won't stop talking about their plant, forgetting the mute button at an inopportune moment. We have to deal with a lot on any given workday. Sometimes it can feel hard to thrive and move forward in your career. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in. LinkedIn helps you get ideas and insights from experts in your field, connect with people professionally, grow your network, and access tools designed to help you find the right fit for your next role. Whether you're just getting started, figuring out your next move, or looking to accelerate your career, LinkedIn is built to support you at every stage because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more. Stuff at Sea is a 5-night adults-only sailing trip that brings the Stuff podcast universe to life on board. This voyage is a culture-soaked escape where pink sand paradise meets curious minds. Sailing round trip from New York City to Bermuda on October 2nd to 7th, 2026, this voyage drops you straight into the iHeart Podcast Stuff universe. On top of the adults-only experience you already love, you'll get live podcast episode recordings, behind-the-scenes sessions, themed activations, and more unmissable onboard moments. Learn more at virginvoyages.com/stuff.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know, a production of iHeartRadio.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh Clark, and there's Charles W. Chuck Bryant, and there's Jerry over there. And we're all being very dainty and mindful and considerate, and this is Stuff You Should Know.
That's right. And another great article from Livia. She got right to the meat of the matter, so maybe we should too.
Sure. Okay. I had about 6-7 minutes of discourse on my own personal experience with manners, but okay.
Hey, pepper those in.
I don't really have that.
I know.
So we are talking about manners, and essentially we should probably define it because manners are exactly what you think of, but what you think can also slide into what really is considered etiquette, which we'll talk a little bit about later. But manners can vary quite dramatically from locality to locality. They can be regional, national, cultural, household to household. They can differ within a neighborhood. Like, for example, some houses in a neighborhood will ask you to take off your shoes when you go in the house. Others are like, why would you do that? That would be considered manners one way or the other, especially the taking off of your shoes thing. So it's kind of like an expectation of polite behavior that is culturally bound typically. That's what manners are.
And time era based.
It can be, for sure. But some, Chuck, Livia cited almost out of the gate an Egyptian vizier who's a political advisor from the Pharaonic era. His name was Ta-Hotep, not to be confused with Bubba Hotep, but Ta-Hotep. And he, in his resignation letter, essentially, his retirement letter to the pharaoh, gave all of this advice to young people in particular. But it was just basically life advice, but it was generally advice on manners. And it holds up today, 4,000 years later.
Some of it does. One of the pieces of advice was to stay away from a battle of insults. Good advice.
Yep.
Avoid gossip. That's another good one.
Yeah.
One that's a little questionable is eat whatever a superior offers you.
Especially if they mash it in your mouth and say, eat it, you stupid cow.
Yeah, no, I agree. But they can stand the test of time for sure. But sometimes they're very locked in time. But the difference between manners and etiquette, even though you can use those interchangeably generally, but people etiquette is a little more formalized, like set of rules, and you'll often see them like published in books, and a lot of times it's tied to very ritualized, formalized stuff like in the king's court, in royal courts, and at fine formal dining meals and stuff like that. So it's a little more formal. Yeah,
manners are another way to put it. Manners are something that are ingrained from you by your culture from your early childhood on. Etiquette is something you kind of actually have to actively seek out to learn, like whether it's from a book or from a finishing school or something like that.
Yeah.
Or you have like a spinster aunt who doesn't have anything else to do but browbeat you into keeping your elbows off the table. Tammy.
Oh, man. So one thing that you're going to see pop up a lot, and we probably don't even have to mention all of these examples because Livy's always so great at our cup always runneth over when she gives us stuff. Mm-hmm. But one repeated thing that you'll see is a lot of philosophers talk about this kind of stuff, and most of them agree, and most people agree that manners aren't just, it's not just, hey, be polite to people. These are sort of the unwritten rules that keep us functioning as a civilized society.
Yeah. High and low. Like some are really, really important, like prohibitions on violence, especially random, unexpected violence against other people. That's
very bad manners.
It falls under, it does. It falls under the category of manners, technically. And then also it can be much more evolved and just designed to make life more pleasant. Like, say, opening doors for people, man or woman, but the person following you holding the door for them. That's mannerful. It just makes it nicer than shutting the door on somebody's face who's coming in behind you. And that, if you put all that together, manners essentially hold civilization together. They're the glue that keeps civilization civilized.
Yeah, there was one modern day philosopher that Livia found named Anya Behringer, who said it's sort of like it keeps you pro-social and keeps your attention focused on making sure other people are doing fine. And an example that Livia gave was like, let's say you're throwing a dinner party at your house, and what you really want to do, though, halfway through that dinner party maybe is go to bed because you're just beat. Mm-hmm. But you don't, because that would not be mannerly. So what you're doing is you're focusing on everyone else and making sure their drink is filled, that they had all they want to eat, and you're maybe clearing the dishes and doing all that stuff. So you're focused, and it's all under the umbrella of good manners. But what you're really doing is focusing on pro-social behaviors.
Right. And so some people, that now we enter like where some people are really critical of that. Mm-hmm. Like some people would argue, you're really tired, go to bed. Why are you sacrificing your health conceivably just to keep some people you may or may not even particularly like satisfied? And
they're at your dinner party. I mean,
sure, you would hope, but I mean, somebody always brings Tammy.
I know Tammy.
So there's a philosopher named Diogenes. He was one of the founders of the school of Cynics way back in the day in ancient Greece. I believe in the 3rd century. Yeah, about 2,300 years ago. And Diogenes, he dedicated his life to pointing out the hypocrisy that manners generate in people. He saw manners as a forced mask that people had to wear that hid their true selves from other people. And he wasn't saying you should go around and like hit other people if you want to. Like he married the thing with morality. Like you needed to be moral and upstanding, but you didn't need to be deferential to some superior because they're superior because society says they are. They're no more superior to you than you are to them. That was Diogenes' whole thing, and he hated manners so much so that he engaged in some pretty shocking behavior in public just to kind of prove his point.
Yeah. As the stories go, he would masturbate and urinate in public.
And defecate?
Yeah, so I don't know. When you talk about like he really believed in like upstanding morals.
Sure. But his point was, if you're doing something in private with no problem, you should be able to do it in public. You're hiding your true self if you don't masturbate in public, essentially was Diogenes' point. And as a result, people don't typically take up Diogenes' point. And in fact, he's very frequently considered an exception to the rule. Like the fact that he railed so hard against manners and just basically seemed like a weirdo to everybody else, kind of shows the importance of manners in keeping civilized society together. Like people are like, okay, yeah, I will kind of not respond to a jerk who's, socially my social better in exchange for not having to walk down the street and watch everybody masturbating in public.
Right. Even the great philosophers over time that have sort of had a problem with the really formal, hoity-toity, courtly type of stuff and that kind of extravagance, most of them even still agreed that like a basic level of manners and politeness is important to hold society together. And if we didn't have that stuff, society would just crumble. Where it can get really tricky, and we'll talk about this here and there, is when you get too into policing someone else's manners, or when you're using that as sort of a I guess sort of a dog whistle to talk about like the quote unquote wrong kinds of people and that kind of thing. That can get very squirmy and thorny.
Right. We also should say, and we'll get into it a little more later, manners are culturally bound. Like what's good manners in one society is not necessarily easily translated to another society.
Yeah, big time.
Livia used the example of the Johoansi. That's what I'm going with. Johoansi people of Namibia.
Yeah.
And they're hunter-gatherers, and they have a tradition where the hunter who brings back meat is typically criticized for there not being enough meat, for the meat being of like so quality.
Yeah,
and
they're stringy.
They're doing that to like knock him down a peg so he doesn't feel any more superior to anybody else. And you actually see this in like the British Isles. It's a real tradition, not necessarily of criticizing the meat a hunter brings back, but it could happen, and more just kind of like social restrictions on getting too big for your britches, I think is a way to put it.
Yeah, and a lot of the European style of etiquette is historically, a lot of it's based around these meal times and very formal set meal times that you sit down all together and you eat this big meal. And a lot of cultures through history don't do that kind of thing. Native Americans didn't, many tribes didn't sit and have some big meal. Their jam was to like, hey, I got a stew on the pot at all hours of the day. So if you show up at my place, I might offer you some food you might want to eat if you're hungry, then that's great. So we don't have that kind of formal thing. So that's obviously going to cause some friction and awkwardness when Europeans come over and meet Native Americans and say, we're going to make our way your way.
So I was reading about that, and apparently that social standard for manners for offering food and having like a perpetual pot of stew going, that held up during lean times, winter. Like it didn't matter how little food you had, you still were expected to have that pot of stew for visitors. Yeah.
And I think if the TV show Reservation Dogs is accurate, and I believe it is to modern day Native American culture, on that show they eat a lot and they offer each other food a lot.
Yeah. And there's another thing about offering food is there's a lot of cultures that expect you to decline being offered additional food. But that's part of a larger kind of dance where you the host continues to offer multiple times, and then after a set amount of times, you can then and are actually expected to say, yes, that would be great, thanks. I'll take some more.
Yeah, that can be a big thing in the South, offering you food over and over, or like I've experienced that with Italian families in the Northeast. Sit down, keep eating.
Right.
And, I'm usually happy to oblige.
Right.
I don't want to be rude.
Sure. Who would be? You want to take a break?
Yeah, let's take an early break before we dive into Europe.
We've all had the experience of calling a business and just wanting to talk to a real person. Not an automated voice pretending to be human, an actual person who can listen and understand and offer help.
That's exactly what you can do with Ruby. Ruby is the virtual receptionist company that takes care of your callers when you're unavailable in the middle of something or simply don't want to pick up.
That's right. They can answer, screen, transfer calls. They can take messages, collect payments, book appointments, and more, all while making the people you serve feel special.
And best of all, it can help you be more productive. For example, 9 out of 10 lawyers who use Ruby log more billable hours per day than the national average.
And other professionals like plumbers and technicians win more customers while being able to stay focused on the job. But whatever kind of small business you run, Ruby is built to save you time, earn you more customers or clients, and make meaningful connections with the people you serve.
It's available 24/7, 365 days a year, and 100% based in the U.S. See why more than 15,000 small businesses use Ruby. Visit ruby.com, or better yet, call them at 844-900-RUBY.
The springtime thaw is finally here. Flowers are blooming, days are longer. We're saying yes to more plans and finally getting outside, running, walking, just moving again. It's the perfect time to upgrade your everyday go-tos with Bombas. Take Bombas Sport Socks. They're super comfortable and designed with sport-specific tech for running, cycling, yoga, hiking, you name it. I use them to run in, and I can tell you they work beautifully. So head over to bombas.com and use code SYSK for 20% off your first purchase. That's BOMBAS.com, code SYSK at checkout.
So you're considering getting a home security system, but you want something that fits your space. Well, with ADT Blue, it's easy to customize a system that's right for you and set it up yourself. Just pick the kit and monitoring plan that makes sense for your home.
Yeah, well, let's say you're worried about package theft right off your front porch. The ADT Plus app can walk you through setting up a new doorbell camera kit. Once it's installed, ADT Pros can help you keep tabs on it 24/7, or you can manage it yourself from the ADT Plus app.
That's right, there are no long-term contracts, so you can change your monitoring plan whenever you want. The flexibility doesn't end there either. You can add to your system as you need with things like extra cameras or motion sensors.
Some life decisions are hard, but thanks to ADT Blue, you can get DIY trusted ADT home security in a snap. Head to ADT.com/BLU to build your system today. And to find out more about home protection, check out a new episode of Grown Up Stuff with security expert Joe Mazza, out now on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Stuff you should know. Stuff you should know.
All right, so as we say, manners and etiquette has changed here and there over the years, and as we'll see, a lot of times when there's a big sort of like a big war or a big social change or a big change in power or something like that, a lot of times you'll see these etiquette rules changing. And there's a book called The History of Manners, written in 1939 by Norbert Elias, that said that, you know, medieval era through the 19th century, there was a big change in that that's when people started to care a little bit how they were viewed by other people. They started to feel shame for doing things for the first time.
Yeah.
And they started to say things like, you know, it's really gross to see you blow your nose at the table, or to go like to get up from your meal and go urinate in the corner or something like that.
Right.
And like, we should keep our bodily functions to ourselves.
Yeah. So around the time of the Renaissance, the first guides to manners started to come out. And that was a good example of social organization in upheaval. The Renaissance was. So it makes sense that this would be one of the first guides to manners in Europe. It was called the Civilitate Morum Puerilium, which means civility of childish manners.
Yeah.
It was written by Erasmus, the famous Dutch philosopher, back in 1530. And he took some time out from translating the New Testament to write down manners, which basically was like, hey, don't stir gravy with your fingers. Don't blow your nose on the tablecloth at the table. Actually, just don't blow your nose on any tablecloth anywhere in any part of the house.
Yeah.
And then if they shared spoons a lot, there would be communal soup. So you would taste the soup with the spoon, and he instructed, okay, after that, wipe it with a napkin after your use of that spoon before you put it back, which seems highly civilized for 1530.
Can I cover this other one?
Yes, please.
It's a pretty great trick. It still holds up today. If you have to fart at the table, cover up the sound of the fart with a heavy cough.
I can't cough that long.
Well, and to me, those two things are sort of, I don't know if I can do those things at the same time because they both engage the same mechanisms for me.
Right?
I don't know. That'd be weird. I've never tried.
Instead, you should just suck in a bunch of air and pucker your bottom hole. That's my advice.
Yeah, I'm going to try that at some point. Not at a dinner table. I don't fart at the dinner table at all.
Good for you, Chuck. You're really, Erasmus would be proud.
In the 18th century, in the royal courts, things got a little more sophisticated. Etiquette got a little more rigid. The word etiquette actually came from this time period. It comes from France, obviously. And there are different stories that it came from the word for ticket or label. Some people, you might find online that it came from signs, keep off the grass signs that King Louis had at Versailles, even though Livia said she couldn't find a lot of really great things to back that up. But Marie Antoinette apparently did have a nickname for her French aristocratic retainer, Madame Etiquette, because she was always saying, like, you got to do this, you got to do this.
Right. They also did eventually start printing instructions for how to behave at court. And that really follows in the vein of a label or a ticket. So that also kind of later on, I think after the fact, became etiquette, a name for that. It didn't make its way into English until I think the 1700s, the mid-1700s. And there was a Earl of Chesterfield, the fourth to be exact. His name was Philip Dormer Stanhope. And he was very famous for a series of letters that he wrote to his illegitimate son. He was a minister in Holland for the English crown. And while there, he fathered a son, and he kept in touch and basically tried to explain to his son how to behave in civilized society. And it ended up being, if you put all the letters together, a pretty funny, witty, but also very insightful treatise on manners at the time.
Yeah, it was kind of long-distance fathering. He talked about, Livia lists quite a few of these. These are pretty good. But long talkers, that's a pretty fun one. If one of these unmerciful talkers lays hold of you, hear him with patience and at least seeming attention if he is worth obliging. Yeah, or good advice.
Yeah, don't carve meat to so much that you bespatter the company with the sauce or overturn the glasses in your neighbor's pocket. So just don't, just be cool when you're carving meat, I think is what he was saying.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
What else?
This one I don't quite get, although I think I do maybe for the time period. In scandal, as in robbery, the receiver is always thought as bad as the thief. So I get that. He's talking about gossip. So like the gossiper, is no better than the person that they're gossiping about.
No, I think the person listening to the gossip too.
Well, everyone's bad then.
Right.
But what I don't get is comparing it to a robbery. Like
if you're the fence and you're getting the stolen items, you're no better than the thief who actually went in and stole the items.
Oh, the receiver is the fence. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah. Like Redfoot.
Yeah.
Another one that I thought was pretty interesting was be not dark nor mysterious. And he was basically saying, like, be friendly to everybody, but be careful how much information you share. And that is a long-standing piece of advice for manners. It goes back
podcasters.
It goes back to Ptah Hotep, who basically said, like, when you're speaking to your equal, you can be better than them by being silent. Like, really watch how much information you share with those people. And Philip Stanhope was widely criticized. I'm not sure if it was in his lifetime or not when his letters came out and were published, for being a very cynical person, but who was also, shrewdly tuned into manners and how to act courtly. But that really, he exposed it for its worst kind of use, which is social jockeying. Essentially, trying to get ahead by hijacking the prescribed set of manners or rituals or etiquette that anybody can engage in. And if you do it right and you're charming enough and you appear sincere on the surface, even the greatest psychopath around can become very wealthy and powerful thanks to etiquette, following etiquette and manners.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little tricky, though, because a lot of people have labeled that very thing sort of the great democratizer. If you're someone who is of a, at the time in whatever culture you're in, like in a what's looked at as a lower class, and you can learn these etiquette rules and pass yourself off as the upper class, then it levels the playing field.
Totally. It does both. It's not,
interesting.
They're not mutually exclusive. It's just some of those people can have ill intentions or be insincere jerks. Other people are like, I really want to do better for myself, and there's not easy access to college. This is how to get ahead in life. So I'm going to go learn this stuff and be earnest about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a common, I'm not going to call it a trope, but just sort of a common theme in a lot of movies of someone sort of conning their way into the elite society, whether it's Oh gosh,
Secret of My Success. Short
Maybe.
Circuit 2.
6 Degrees of Separation, or
The Grifters.
you know, I can't think of. No, Grifters doesn't have anything to do with that.
I've never seen it.
Oh wow, Grifters is great. But you know, I can't think of like an old sort of English movie version of that. But I know like tricking your way into court was a common theme.
What about Barry Lyndon?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
What a great one! Did you hear the applause?
Yeah, in my head. So, and then in the United States, the initial adoption of manners and etiquette in particular was basically European exports imported to the States from very early on. And it wasn't until the 1920s that, I shouldn't say that. It wasn't until the 1920s that that Americans were exposed to the formal etiquette that had developed over the years on its own in America. Mm-hmm. Through Emily Post. Now, it had been developing from, say, the mid-19th century on. It basically was attached to a rocket ship during the Second Industrial Revolution in the United States and the ensuing Gilded Age, because there was suddenly a lot of very wealthy people who may or may not have had any wealth whatsoever before. Mm-hmm. And so all this etiquette, these rules of etiquette started to develop and pass along. And Emily Post was raised in that world. And she, as I think a 40-something divorcee, sat down and put pen to paper and wrote what became the most successful etiquette book of all time.
Yeah, 1922, Etiquette in Society, not a colon, everybody, a comma.
Yeah,
Etiquette
I appreciate that.
Etiquette in Society, in Business, in Politics, and at Home. These days, that would still have a colon and some dumb long subtitle.
It'd be nothing. It'd be, instead of commas, it'd be colon, 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 colon everywhere.
AKA How to Act Right.
Right.
But, you know, Emily Post is very famous for being sort of one of the first Americans to put this forward. She talked about belonging to the best society. And in her eyes, that meant, well, you know, you're born into it in Europe, or you're born into it or earn it in the way of wealth in the U.S. But what I'm really trying to talk about is just how to belong in those worlds because you're polite and you have good behavior and a charm of manner. Vanity Fair, Laura Jacobs from Vanity Fair said it was one of the 20th century's great acts of democracy.
Yeah.
And again, it's this idea that here's the code, everybody. It's for everyone to learn if they want to.
Yeah, I was reading about her. I was reading that Vanity Fair article, and Emily Post was a heck of a person. She had a great sense of humor. She had a great sense of perspective of herself and the world and even the manners that she was talking about. But she became divorced after it came to light that her husband had been running around on her. But before they divorced, she found out about this because he was being blackmailed. There was a blackmailing scheme that blackmailed everybody in New York society. And they finally got around to Emily Post's husband. And he told her about it. And she said, do not just fall prey to these people. Like, call the cops, expose these people. And she did it at the risk of great personal scandal. Like, she was outed as having been cheated on by her husband, which really shouldn't have shocked anybody. Like, all husbands cheated on their wives back then, especially in that level of society. But she put herself out there and allowed it to happen, to be publicly humiliated, I guess is what you call it, in order to prevent some scummy blackmailers from winning again. And she actually shut down the blackmailing ring with the help of the cops just by allowing this to happen.
Was there an etiquette angle there, or was that just more on Emily Post?
It just shows that she had such a sense of justice and what was right that she was willing to put herself out there in a really uncomfortable way to ensure that justice was done, I think.
Awesome.
Yeah, she was a neat person.
So Judith Martin is another very famous manner advice person here in America, Miss Manners, a.k.a. Miss Manners. This advice column started in 1978. It's still around. And Judith Martin is another person who says, you know, this is the glue that binds society and kind of holds us all together.
Yep.
There was another term which I really like called the politics of respectability. Mm-hmm. coined by a historian named Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham. And she was talking about Black women in the progressive era who were saying, be polite, be modest, and this is how we're going to help make change. And Livia points out these awful pictures during the civil rights era of Black Americans, dressed in their best Sunday suit, getting fire hosed at a demonstration, stuff like that.
Yeah. Some people have said that was a good tactic. It made a lot of sense at the time, and it probably did help quite a bit. But just if you step back and think about having to be civilized in the face of that just to get basic entrance to constitutional rights is pretty rotten if you stop and think about it like that.
Yeah, there are a couple of angles for sure.
So I say we take our second ad break and then come back and talk about, get this, manners.
Let's do it.
We've all had the experience of calling a business and just wanting to talk to a real person, not an automated voice pretending to be human, an actual person who can listen and understand and offer help.
That's exactly what you can do with Ruby. Ruby is the virtual receptionist company that takes care of your callers when you're unavailable in the middle of something or simply don't want to pick up.
That's right. They can answer, screen, transfer calls. They can take messages, collect payments, book appointments, and more, all while making the people you serve feel special.
And best of all, it can help you be more productive. For example, 9 out of 10 lawyers who use Ruby log more billable hours per day than the national average.
And other professionals like plumbers and technicians win more customers while being able to stay focused on the job. But whatever kind of small business you run, Ruby is built to save you time, earn you more customers or clients, and make meaningful connections with the people you serve.
It's available 24/7, 365 days a year, and 100% based in the U.S. See why more than 15,000 small businesses use Ruby. Visit ruby.com, or better yet, call them at 844-900-RUBY. Hey everybody, here's a fact for you. In the United States, there is a break-in every 26 seconds, and that means that somewhere right now, an intruder is getting closer. And the problem with most security systems is that they only alert you after the break-in has started, and that's too late.
Well, that's what makes SimpliSafe different. They use alerts. SimpliSafe's U.S.-based live agents, they identify threats on your property and help deter them before they actually break in. So the intruder never gets into your house. The crime is stopped before it even starts.
That's right. And another great thing about SimpliSafe is they have no long-term contracts. They give you peace of mind and great value with their monitoring deterrence plans because they just start at about $1 a day.
Yeah, SimpliSafe sent us a setup years back, and I still use mine every day.
Yeah, and apparently setup, you can do it by yourself in under 30 minutes, so it's a really good value and it doesn't take long.
So if you want to experience the SimpliSafe peace of mind, you can take advantage of the SimpliSafe discount offered to Stuff You Should Know listeners. Right now, you can get 50% off your new system by visiting simplisafe.com/stuff. That's half off at simplisafe.com/stuff. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Work can be a little weird. One minute you're in a meeting that could have been an email. The next you're trying to decode corporate jargon that somehow means nothing. And don't even get us started on the quick sync that turns into a 45-minute deep dive.
Yeah, well, the truth is figuring out your career isn't always straightforward. Whether you're trying to grow, pivot, or just stay relevant, it can feel like you're navigating it all on your own. Well, that's where LinkedIn comes in.
That's right. LinkedIn can help you grow your career, helping you confidently navigate your path with insights, ideas, and inspiration from your professional community. You can stay up to date with the latest trends in your field, connect with people who get it, and discover opportunities tailored to your goals, your experience, and what actually matters to you.
Whether you're looking for something new or just trying to grow where you are, LinkedIn gives you the tools and connections to move forward with confidence. Because LinkedIn is the network that works for you. Visit linkedin.com/knowstuff to learn more.
Stuff you should know. Stuff you should know.
Okay, Chuck, so we were talking earlier about how manners and even etiquette are not easily translated across cultures sometimes. Some are. Mm-hmm. I was looking for universal manners, and I could not find them. I think the closest thing that I found that was essentially universal is, and I don't even think that's correct, but I'll say that it's very widespread, is the concept of superiors, equals, and inferiors within a society and how you interact with each one.
Okay.
That seems to be fairly universal, except in Scotland and among the Jul-Huansi.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of examples of this. We talked about Edward T. Hall in our parapersonal space episode in 1955. This is when he was doing some of his best work. And he talks about, and this is, of course, 1955, but so it's kind of funny to look at some of these, but he talked about Americans interacting with other countries. And he was like, if you're from China, you might think someone raising their voice like always means that they're angry. So that if they see an American like really emphasizing a point by raising their voice, they might be caught off guard and think they're angry.
Right.
Whereas, and again, this is the 1950s in Latin America. If a business person from America introduced themselves from across the room and said, I'm Mr. Charles W. Chuck Bryant, they may think that's a little too formal. But then on the other hand, they also might say, but these Americans, they'll just like kick back and put their feet on their desk in the middle of a meeting. And you don't do that kind of thing at work.
I can just see an American meeting somebody from like Brazil and introducing themselves as Mr.
Right.
And the person from Brazil just does their best like emo fips, like la-dee-da. Remember him? He was famous for that.
Who?
Emo Phipps. He had that weird like page boy haircut, and he was
Phillips. Emo Phillips?
I thought it was Phipps.
I thought it was Phillips. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're right.
I might be wrong.
Emo Phipps. It's one of those two.
He's still around, I think, or did he just pass away?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay. Didn't we talk about him recently?
Yes. Within the last
couple
of years.
we did. Okay. No, he's still alive. Good for him.
Is it Phillips or Phipps?
It's Phillips.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Emo.
He's almost 70.
What?
I know.
Wow.
That page boy, that'll make you look young.
Chuck, I think we're getting old, too, is one of the things.
No. Let's talk about punctuality for a minute.
Yeah, that's huge.
Because that's, depending on where you are, can mean a lot of things. I often laugh when I think back at going to my dear friend Seema's wedding. She married my good friend Chris, and they had, big Indian wedding. And everyone was always late on her side to all the functions. And she just always laughed and was like, hey, the Indians' relationship to time is very loose. And so everyone just get used to it because it's going to be happening all weekend long.
Right.
And they were all wonderful and they were always late. And it was a lot of fun and funny.
So in Australia and New Zealand, punctuality is very, very important. Like even more important than in the United States, which it's pretty important here. I mean, there's usually about a 5-minute grace period to where the person is willing to not get upset, I think. And then
depends on the thing.
15 minutes if it's something that you're paying somebody for, like say your hair appointment or whatever. If you're trying to move your part closer to the crown of your head, you can be up to 15 minutes late without them penalizing you, right? But for the most part, it's pretty important here. I get the impression in Australia and New Zealand, I saw it put as critical.
Yeah. My deal with punctuality is I am a very punctual person. Mm-hmm. I get very stressed out if I'm running late. Same and here. I really try my best to not run late for anything. But I've gotten really good about trying to not let other people's lateness upset me, like with friends and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because that's no good. Like, you don't want to be mad at a friend if you're waiting on them to go do something fun.
True.
And I don't mean like, we're going to go over and like play hacky sack in the park. Like, a concert or something that has a time that you're now sort of running late for. I would get upset. So what I've learned to do is not get upset because I can't control my emotions like that.
Sure.
But I have, there's certain people in my life that are always late. And I just started telling them 30 minutes early.
Smart.
That's all you got to, I'm not even going to call it a hack. That's just smart living.
No, it's just manipulation. But smart manipulation, and I think justified too. Those
Yeah,
people
you are
are begging
punctual.
for it.
We're both punctual.
Definitely. And I get very stressed out too. Especially, I've really had to kind of get more laid back about making it to the airport because Yumi's like, let's just get there 2 minutes before they close the door so we don't have to spend much time on the airplane. And I'm like, in theory, I love that, but that's not, no, I can't. So I used to be
Yeah.
let's leave maybe more than 2 hours before our flight to get to the airport. And now I'm like, okay, I can conceivably
spot.
leave like maybe 80 minutes, 90 minutes before, something like that. Maybe an hour, depending on how like loosey-goosey I'm feeling.
I like to be early for flights just because I just don't want to be stressed out at all. So I like to be pretty early.
Okay, so fair enough.
know?
Punctuality, very important. Another one is eye contact. That's another universal one, but it's not necessarily the same around the world. And in fact, it's quite the opposite from place to place. In America, the United States, you want to hold some sort of eye contact. There's a certain amount, and you have to, this takes a lot of practice. You can very easily creep into like crazy looking territory or creepy if you overdo it. But if you underdo it, you seem untrustworthy and shady.
I know.
So you have to do just the right amount of eye contact, and you can look away and then you look back again, depending on how long the conversation is. Apparently in the UK, you just don't really make much eye contact at all during a conversation.
Yeah, what I found works for me is to try and not think about it, because once that happens, I'm done.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Like in conversation with someone I don't know, I try to be like, yeah, just have a normal conversation. You kind of look at someone's face in general, look them in the eye some,
Touch their
look
cheek.
away a little bit, touch their cheek here and there if they say it's okay. But once it gets into my head, if it's a nervy situation and I'm like, am I making enough eye contact and am I making too much? Then I'm just done for.
Totally. Especially if you're like 3, 2, 1, look away. 7, 8, 9, 10, look back.
And they're like, why are you counting? There may be at least a short stuff into eye contact.
Definitely.
Because there's a lot more to just besides, being rude or not being rude, like the science of eye contact and what it means and the brain signals that are being received and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I don't know. There may be something there.
They say the eyes are the window to the face.
Quickly on punctuality, did I ever tell you my Shaquille O'Neal photo shoot story? I probably have.
Yes, but let's hear it again because it's been a while.
Well, and I don't know if this is the angle that I even mentioned last time, but I was a PA on a job. It was a still photo shoot with Shaquille O'Neal on a beach in L.A., and he was supposed to get there at like 3 so we could shoot him out at sunset on the beautiful beach at 5. And Shaq showed up at like noon and said, I'm leaving at 2 because I got to go get my daughter from school. And if you've never worked in film shoots and TV and movie shoots and stuff, like you don't, like the schedules are very almost military-like and how rigid they are. And you don't just say, by the way, I'm going to completely change the time frame here. But you can if you're Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah, and if you look closely, there is not a single General Insurance commercial that was shot around sunset.
Here's the thing, though. I don't want to... He wasn't rude about it. He was very nice. He wanted to get his daughter from school. And everyone shifted their day. And it worked out great. And we had a good time.
Yeah, you got to be careful, Chuck, because he lives here in Atlanta. You might bump into him at like a Papa John's or
You
something.
remember me. Like, I was that PA.
Yeah, totally. So there's some other questions about manners. Like, it's really fun, actually. We found a great article on TripAdvisor written clearly by somebody who's not American-born or U.S.-born, but who has a pretty good idea of what goes on here. So it's really neat to see us here in America viewed externally and like our mannerisms, our habits, that kind of stuff, explained to somebody who's coming to the United States. So if you go into TripAdvisor and you go into United States travel articles, look for polite manners. And it is exhaustive and extensive and very insightful, actually. But it's pretty interesting to just kind of see us through that lens, you know?
Oh, totally. You sent this to me. It was a lot of fun to look through. And we were kind of trading on text, like the ones we thought were funny. And we both agreed under general decorum, this passage, Curse words should be avoided around children at all times. Some teens will curse in the streets, however. Try not to confront them about it.
That's right. So there's a lot of people who kind of argue that manners are dead. And you can make an argument that, yes, traditional manners are dead. Like knowing what fork is used for what course of the meal is very vanishingly understood these days.
Yeah.
Or keeping your elbows off the table, which apparently was initiated to prevent other people from taking your, like the posture you have, which allows you to lunge across the table at somebody, as hostile. That's what I've seen. That it prevented people back when they were much bigger lunkheads in general from fighting one another. You just kept your elbows off the table, and it's much less aggressive if you try them both. The whole idea of not putting your elbows on the table is an inherited piece of etiquette that, frankly, is outdated. That's my take on it. If you don't put your elbows on the table because you have manners, that's fine too. But the point is, there are customs and manners and etiquette that we've gone through. They're just they made their point at the time, and they were useful, and now they're not so useful anymore. That doesn't mean that manners and etiquette in general have gone away, just that they've evolved. And now we have all sorts of new manners and etiquette that are thrilling for people alive in the 21st century. I'm thrilled by them, at least.
Another big one is smoking. I looked up the most recent stat I could find, and here in the United States, about 11% of people still smoke. And it's, I think, considered very rude these days to just light up a cigarette, even if you're outside sometimes, like really close to a bunch of people.
I find it rude even if you're nowhere near a bunch of people, because that smoke carries so well.
It does.
That yes, to me, I think we've reached the point where you're allowed to smoke in your own house in your own car.
But it didn't we're all part of this era, you and I, where not even so long ago, it was fine to smoke anywhere in front of anyone.
I smoked on an airplane once.
Right.
Like it was, that was definitely within my lifetime.
I bet there were some French beret guys smoking there too.
Sure, we were holding that smoking section down. And smoking section was the last 3 rows. There was nothing, no barrier, anything like that. So you're just smoking up the back of the plane. It was such a dumb idea.
Yeah. I was curious because I wondered how the rest of the world was doing with smoking. And so I looked up countries who smoke the most.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which one was number 1, but it was like almost 50% of the people there still smoked. This is a different one I'm looking at now. It says China, but oh, here we go. It's number 1, Nauru. Nauru, where is that?
I'm not sure.
And Kiribati are both at 52%.
Wow.
There's only 12,000 people that live in Nauru.
Wow.
So I'm going to have to look up where that is. But that is, I don't know if there used to be 24,000 people and half of them passed from lung cancer or what.
Yeah,
but, yeah.
That's a great question. One of the other things about the evolution of etiquette and manners is just the snapshot that it provides the time we live in today. And you can get a really good picture of that. The Cut ran an article. I think it's like 140 rules of etiquette. And a lot of them make a lot of sense. A lot of them like really kind of tap into the culture that we live in now. Like my favorite one was, after 72 hours, you have amnesty from mentioning how long it took you to respond to a text. So after that, you can just respond to the text like you're responding to it, like no time has passed. Before 72 hours, you have to say, sorry, this took me so long. And it's true. It totally makes sense. And I find it very mannerly that just, it just makes sense to me. But
so
the whole thing's like that.
So if you don't answer a text after, let's say you wait a whole week, you don't have to say, oh man, I'm sorry, this thing got buried.
No, you do not. And as a matter of fact, I've kind of intuitively picked that up because I've got one brewing with my friend Matt that is easily a week and a half old. Yeah. And I've just learned not to call it out because it makes it way worse. They're well aware that it's been a week and a half, and it seems insincere to be like, oh, sorry, it took me a week and a half to get back to you. This is when I had time to like give this thought this attention, and I'm getting back to you now. It just makes sense to me as a delayed texter.
What else? You got anything else in there?
There were so many. No, I mean, there's stuff all over about tipping, about work culture, just, going out to bars, dating, ghosting people. Like it's okay to ghost somebody if you've only been on one date and you didn't follow up with a lot of texting or emails or any calls. You can just ghost them and feel fine about it. But if you did kind of like, make it seem like you're a little more interested and then ghost them, that's kind of mean. And then they said never ghost somebody and then come back like later on in life and ask them for a favor of any kind. Like once you ghost somebody, that's it. You're done.
Interesting. I will say that like I'm not Mr. Manners, but I do believe in being polite and like, open the door for people and stuff like that. But I think that like, I think poor manners, like if I was on the dating scene or something, I think poor manners can be a real red flag as just the overall sort of kind of person someone is.
Right. And I think that's what Emily Post was helping people do, was helping sincere people. She said the 3 principles of etiquette are consideration, respect, and honesty.
Yeah.
And so she was saying, if you are those 3 things, if you're considerate, respectful, and honest, here's what you need to do to present that in the best possible light to people, to let people see how great you are. This is just some easy rules for you to follow. So that you don't seem like a bore when you're out on a date, because you're not a bore. You're a considerate, respectful, honest person who deserves love.
Yeah. And you're also making other people feel comfortable and at ease. And those are things we should strive to do.
Agreed, Chuck. Well, since I agreed with Chuck and he chuckled a little bit because of something that he and I and Jerry know about, that means it's time for listener mail.
All right. I'm going to call this one, boy, it's so old I don't even remember what to call it. This has been in the old folder for a while.
All right.
Hey, guys, long time, first time, as callers used to say on Larry King. Just got done listening to the episode on international debt forgiveness. Oh, it's not that old.
No.
And as promised, it was very interesting and totally day-ruining. I wanted to mention something y'all understandably had to sort of yada yada on the episode for concision, and that is the fact that the rest of Europe simply allowed Leopold II, monarch of a neutral country, to set up his own personal colony in Africa. While this is true on its face, Sebastian Major's excellent 3-part story on the Free State of Congo, our fake history episodes 80, 81, and 82, elucidates how that came to be. While he, of course, goes on to recount the atrocities committed in the Belgian Congo in horrifying detail, the first 2 episodes are the really interesting part where he describes the most stunning and cynical whitewashing propaganda kind of campaign that painted Leopold II as the paragon of late 19th century abolitionist moral rectitude, culminating in the formation of a charity called the International African Association, which all created a veneer of beneficent stewardship that allowed unchecked exploitation of the land and people. That's quite a sentence.
That was one sentence?
Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. And all of this is sounding like really familiar. I was like, yeah, I ran across all this in my research, and I just realized now that this is from reading this email before. That's why it sounds familiar.
It's basically like if the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation turned out to be a front for harvesting adrenochrome from children.
Nice ref.
The story will put you in a fetal position for hours, though Sebastian Major's charming Canadian accent makes it somewhat more tolerable. Thanks, guys. Always great to listen to the show. And that is from John.
Thanks, John. Fantastic email. Thanks for pointing that out. And yes, we had to yada yada that. And also, in addition to Sebastian Majors, probably mentioned it at the time, but Behind the Bastards did, I think, a couple parts on King Leopold, too.
Great show from our very own network.
Well, if you want to get in touch with us with more info like John did, we love that kind of thing. You can wrap it up, spank it on the bottom, and send it off to stuffpodcast@iheartradio.com.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
Hey, quick question for the parents listening right now. When's the last time your kid asked for something and you actually felt good saying yes? Because lately, a lot of families have been hearing the same thing. Can I have Lingo Kids, please?
And here's the thing. Lingo Kids is the #1 entertainment platform for young kids with more than 4,000 interactive games, songs, and shows. Astronauts, wild animals, superheroes, dinosaurs. It's literally everything kids love all in one place.
So when they ask for it, you can actually feel good saying yes. Download Lingo Kids for free and start exploring today, or unlock even more amazing content with Lingo Kids Plus. And if you go with the yearly plan, you can save up to 60%. Just search Lingo Kids in the App Store or Google Play. Lingo Kids, everything kids love. You know, you could be adored by everyone and still completely ignored by your cat. Trust me, I know. But if you feed your cat Sheba, you can go from being ignored to truly adored in 12 days guaranteed or your money back. Sheba has a full menu of products, appetizers, entrees, treats, even a kitten's menu. It's so cute. So Sheba has a product for even the pickiest eater. Like Sheba Puree, it's made with bone broth, their chef-inspired flavors. It's got a smooth and creamy texture that cats love and contains no corn, wheat, soy, or artificial flavors. It's food that your cat's gonna love. To learn more, check out Sheba.com. That's SHEBA.com.
Stuff at Sea is a 5-night, adults-only sailing trip that brings the Stuff podcast universe to life on board. This voyage is a culture-soaked escape where pink sand paradise meets curious minds. Sailing round trip from New York City to Bermuda on October 2nd to 7th, 2026, this voyage drops you straight into the iHeart Podcast Stuff universe. On top of the adults-only experience you already love, you'll get live podcast episode recordings, behind-the-scenes sessions, themed activations, and more unmissable onboard moments. Learn more at virginvoyages.com/stuff.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.